Are you coming back to school with me? We could have done it all so easily.
Hi, my name is Craig Thompson Wood. I'm your host on Teaching with Board Games. And today we'll be taking a look at Ravenfeast by Little Wars TV. Alright, so let's get serious for a moment and talk about the report card for this game. What do I think of this game in each of those different categories that I like to look at for evaluation on a game? So I'm looking at the number of players for Ravenfeast. I'm going to give them a C+. I give it the C+ because it's normally like B is my 2 to 4 range, so if you can have up to 4 players, that's kind of standard for me for a game, but this is at its heart a 2-player game. It's a war game, and a lot of war games are 2-player games. It does have that capability of going up to more players. I mean, you could have a 3-way battle with players each having a different force attacking, or even 4 or whatever, but at its heart, it's the 2-player, which is why I give it the C. But with that capability to go to higher numbers of player counts, then yes, I can allow it to the C+. For learning, I'm going to give the game an A+. There was one comment which really excited me. When I put up my February update, there was a comment from viewer Dan Chaput who said, my love of historical wargaming got my nose into the history books about any of the wars I was gaming in. And it unlocked my love for history that I never realized I had. I mean, that right there is a powerful comment which really tells you about the power that these games have to engage the players into the history. I mean, they're sure you can play the fantasy games and things which have their own histories and things, and people will do a lot of reading based on that. But this is real history, and you can really research the things as you're researching particular battles, as you're researching particular troops. If you're looking, to paint your models and you want them to be authentic in terms of the designs and the colors used and things like that, then there's more research there. Plus, just all kinds of the history, whatever it is that you're learning about and reading more about it, because you now have a new interest based on the game. It's just so much of this comes into that. So within the history itself, there's so much there. But in doing that history, of course, how you're going to get the history, you're going to be reading. I mean, I guess you could watch like the History Channel or YouTube videos on these things, but the potential for doing a lot of reading is there. So you're getting history, getting reading, and then the mathematics. My goodness, again, it was one of those instances where I was preparing for the play. I played this game a couple times already just to get a feel for it, and I want to be able to review it properly. And in the first one, I just had equal size forces. It was just a clashing of the two armies, and they both had the same troops, they both had the same numbers of troops, and everything was like that. For the second game, I wanted to try something a little bit different, so I tried one of their scenarios that was in the book. And the scenario said that one of the forces was to be 500 points, and the other was supposed to be 300 points, and they gave options of how you do that. Well, here comes that math, which this is how my math developed when I was younger. I was a terrible math student when I was very young, but when I started playing games like this, where you're starting to say, okay, well, I'm taking this many points, I'm taking each of these archers here are 18 points, well, I'll take 4 of those, that's 72 points, okay, 3 groups of this, that's 100 and 216. Yeah, 216. And you're trying to do, put the adding together. Oh, I've gone so many points over. Well, if I take this off, add this. The playing with the numbers is what really got my math skills better. And I think as people start to get into this game and they want to play and they're trying to fine-tune their armies in terms of how many points they're playing with and what they would like to get into that force, you're just playing with those numbers as you're figuring it out. And that's just the basic set. As you get into the higher levels, then the more advanced rules, then there's rules for custom creating characters, saying, well, I want a berserker, but I want him to be a heroic berserker with special abilities. Okay, well, then you start to add on points for that, and you custom create a model with whatever stats you want, but you pay the points appropriate to that. And it's just, so I mean, there's just so much there. I think this game is fantastic for the learning. I think it's definitely an A+ in my books. For fun, I'm going to give the game an A. I thought this game was great, and what I love about it is that it's very simple, it's very streamlined, but it's not so simple and streamlined that it's boring. And there's a lot of decisions to be making as you're moving troops around. Are you going to be, forming shield walls? Who are you going to attack? There was times where I was playing, and I was thinking, okay, well, hold on, whose turn is it? It doesn't matter whose turn it is. Everything, a lot of the stuff is happening simultaneously. Both sides move on the same thing. It's just in terms of the initiative, one group is able to move first, and that can sometimes make a difference. But it's all very, very simple. But like I said, a lot of these decisions and stuff to be made, and it's kind of got me, I found myself thinking a couple times, like, okay, well, where would I get some Viking miniatures for this? So I mean, if I'm already thinking about buying miniatures for the game, then obviously there's something I like about this. So yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun, and it would be something that I would be looking to engage Timothy in, because it's, like as I say, it's a great way for learning. So let's see if I can hook him into this kind of thing and get him interested in a game like this. For time, I'm going to give the game a B. I give it the B because it is a very fast game for a war game. I mean, to play the game out is just, like, I was amazed at how quickly I played through the 2 games I played, for just getting the feel for the rules and things and seeing what I thought of it. So I thought, yeah, it was super fast. It doesn't get the A because, with this, I mean, there's a lot of setup in terms of, building the armies, in terms of, like, not physically constructing them, but building them by points. And also just the setting up of the table, the cleanup of the table, and things like that. It's not one of those games which is going to be super quick. You just kind of throw it out there and clean up, and you're going to be done within 40 minutes. I wouldn't be thinking about having this as a game at school during class. If I'm going to be playing this at a school, what I would be doing is having this as a before or after school activity, maybe part of a club, a war game club. And you can have different historical periods, or maybe just all Ravenfeast if kids want to just do that. So in terms of overall gameplay, like I say, what's going to take you the time is the setup and the cleanup, but the actual gameplay itself is remarkably quick. So I was really quite impressed by that. So overall, the B. For cost, is there a score higher than A+? I mean, how can you say anything about the cost higher than A+? I mean, the game is free. The rules are free, the miniatures are free. Well, the miniatures are free. I mean, what I got is, like, they made these little Viking cutouts, and you print these off, and so you have, like, I have little shield and sword guys here. I've got my berserkers and archers, all free. The rules are free to download online. And so you can get a PDF of that. You can print those off if you want, or you can just use it off your computer, which is what I did, because, as I said, the rules are very simple. So once I knew the rules, I would look back to the computer to consult, but I didn't need to have that big rule book to keep flipping through to understand, okay, what do I do in this situation? Because it was all very fluid, very easy. And the cutouts was another PDF file that I downloaded, and I printed off as many as I needed. For the 2 armies, each army has 20 models. Each army has like 2 berserkers, a bunch of herdmen, archers, a jarl. They have 20 models each, and it cost me like $5, $4.95, I think it was, plus HST, our Canadian taxes, to print them. So it was like around $5 for me to print and play this whole game, which was fantastic. I mean, that is amazing. The people who did this, so Little Wars TV are the publishers, and I think I've forgotten to mention that before, but Little Wars TV has done this as a means to get people into the miniatures wargaming hobby, the historical wargaming hobby more specifically. They're not so much interested in promoting things fantasy-wise, but I will talk about that in a second. But they are more of a historical wargame society by my understanding of them, and had done this as a means to get people into that. So they created this historical miniatures war game and made it all free. So hats off to you guys. That was awesome of you to do. The whole thing looks amazing. The rule book and the miniatures, and I keep calling them miniatures, but the cutouts and everything are fantastic. I think you guys did an awesome job. So thank you so much. Now, I'm just going to say up front, I'm not going to give you a full playthrough of how the game looks and things. I'm going to give just a really sort of rough idea of what happens in the game, so you understand how the game plays out, because Little Wars TV has already done a rules tutorial video on how to play, So I am not going to be doing that for you. But what I am thinking of doing in a couple of weeks, I might do a battle report with my super duper little cutout miniatures here, and just to give you more of a sense of how it all goes. So keep an eye out for that one. But for now, let me take you to the table and I'll give you a quick look at how it plays. Alright, so here what I have set up is a very simple sort of battle for Ravenfeast. I've included two sets of identical troops where you have a Jarl on either side. And what I've done to make it clear, I put little red dots on the bottom of my Jarl markers because you have the Huskarl. My apologies if I'm mispronouncing any of these, who's the identical model to this one, but the Huskarl has a blue sticker, whereas the Jarl has the red sticker, just to help differentiate. Make it clear too, you want to make sure you know who the leader is on the table and where they're at all times. Each side also has a berserker and 2 archers, and then some herdmen. So now one thing that's to note too is that herdmen have, because they have shields and the Jarl does too, they have the ability to make a shield wall, which gives them bonuses to their defense, but also slows down their movement. So you have to be careful when you choose to do that. The berserkers can never shield wall because they don't have a shield, so duh. And then the archers also lack shields to be able to make shield walls. So in Ravenfeast, one of the most important things you're going to be using is this chart, which I'm going to put up on the screen right now. Now you see this chart, what it does is it gives you all the statistics of the characters. So it tells you their names, their movement value in inches, their melee attack capabilities, their missile attack capabilities, if they have any, armor, morale, and any special abilities which they may have. You will be referring to this quite often until you've played it enough, I guess, that you've memorized it. So what we're going to do is, in the start of a turn, is we're going to roll to see who has the initiative. So each side is going to roll. So we'll roll for the reds, and they get a 5. And the blue gets a 4. Now, normally in most games, rolling higher is better, but in Ravenfeast, rolling lower is better. And each side gets to -1 as long as they have their Jarl, and both do. You always have to start with a Jarl. So it's 3 for the blue versus 4 for the reds. So the blues get to decide what to do. So if we were to refer back to that chart, we'd see that all troops have a 6-inch movement. So that part's easy to know. So we can elect to move 6 inches, but now maybe a little hard to tell from the angle that thing's at right now, but this is greater than 6 inches. So what the blue may want to do is give the reds the opportunity to move forward, and then they can shield wall or whatever as they move in to attack. So maybe by giving the initiative to the red player, it can help them to decide what they want to do. So sure, red is going to go first. Blue will decide that red will have the first chance to move. So blue is going to shield wall. I just pulled some tokens from another game, which I've sort of cannibalized for parts. And they're going to move forward. I'm just going to eyeball this, 3 inches. And they're going to form a shield wall. I use this token to represent the shield wall. So they're not going to run forward recklessly. Actually, you know what? Sure, why not? They're going to just run forward recklessly and move in for the attack. They're going to be aggressive, and the berserker he's going to run over there for the archers. Now again, I would normally be using my tape measure to measure these things, but for purposes of right now, just to speed things up a little bit, I'm just going to eyeball it a little bit. Now all movement on a turn is simultaneous. It's not like blue takes a turn, red takes a turn. So the blue is taking the initiative, so they'll move their pieces first, but then they're also going to move. So now they're going to shield wall. And now here's where I'm going to use this token. I'm going to show that this group is shield wall. So this way I can show you the difference. So shield wall means that they are only allowed to move straight forward. They cannot pivot, they cannot turn, they can not move side to side. The only thing they could do is turn 180 degrees to face the rear and still in the shield wall, but that would take their whole movement. And then the berserker is going to come into the side here. Whoops. Now with the movement done, initiative done, movement done, we're going into the next phase, which is missile fire. Well, actually, there would be a rallying phase, but nobody has broken at this point, so we didn't need to do the rallying phase. So all combat is simultaneous. So again, it doesn't matter whose turn it is, who won the initiative. The initiative was only to decide who gets to move first or not. So in some cases, that will be very important. So we'll go here. So we're going into the missile phase. So the archers are a little bit worried about the berserker coming at them. So they're going to try and shoot the berserker. And they also cannot fire into this combat now because everybody is in combat. So now the archers firing down here, you actually fire them one at a time. So that way if the first archer kills the berserker, the next archer can choose to fire at the other archers instead. So the first archer, they have a, looking back on the chart here, let me put it back up on the screen. So you can see the archers have a missile rating of 2. So that means they need to roll equal to or under a 2 in order to hit the berserker. So the first one rolls, and he rolls a 3, so that's a miss. And the second one rolls, and he rolls a 2, so he hits. So now we consult the armor rating of the berserker. Put it back up here, and you see that the armor rating of the berserker is a 3. So we roll. He rolled a 6, so the berserker has been wounded and will die. So I'm just going to take one of my red tokens here and put on the berserker to show that he is met his end. Now these two archers are going to fire at those two archers. Now given that there's just no difference between them, I'm just going to roll both dice at once to expedite things. And I rolled 1, 2, and these archers have a an armor value of 2. So they rolled a 4. So one of these archers has been killed as well. So I'll just put a token there. Now, cool thing in Ravenfeast, if you ever roll a 1 for your attack roll and your opponent rolls a 6, you roll again, and if you get a hit, then that person has been called a death worthy for a song. And anybody within, you were killed in such a horrific faction that anybody within 6 inches has to make a morale check. It's kind of a fun little rule that they included in there. Now we'll go on to, now that the missile fires are all done, we'll go on to the combat. And combat can be just, again, all simultaneous, so who you're attacking, it doesn't matter who's attacking first or not. So we will do, I'll just do, again, the 3 here against the 3 here. I'm just going to, actually, it does matter because the one on the end here is the Jarl. So we'll do the Jarl first. The Jarl attacks with a melee rating of 5. And he rolls a 1, so there's my 1. Now if this guy rolls a 6 to save, then it could be a song, a death worthy of a song, and he rolled a 3. So he didn't save, so he is marked for death, but he will get to attack back. So against the Jarl, he rolled a 2, which is a hit, and the Jarl rolls a 6, which is a wound. So now the Jarl, I will put this, I have little heart tokens here. So this heart token shows that the Jarl's taken a wound, because the Jarl has toughness 3, which means he can take 3 hits before he dies, but the Jarl's been wounded, whereas this guy has been killed. Now, there's 2 on 2 here, which are going to be just regular fighters, so I'll just do those simultaneously. So 4 and 5 miss, and 5 and 5 miss. Then we have the one here against the red Jarl. It's a 5 miss, and the Jarl fights back. Oh, another 1 for the Jarls. And the fighter there rolls a 5. Now, even with the shield wall gives them +2 to their armor rating. So, but this is still, the 5 is greater than that. So this fighter is killed. So the Jarls have killed their respective fighters. Now the Berserker is fighting the Jarl. The Berserker has 2 attacks, needing 4s or less. And the Berserker rolls a 5 and a 6, so nothing there. In the end phase, you're going to do your cleanups. So this fighter has died. This fighter has died. This Berserker has died. And this archer has died. So you've had two fighters from each side have died. That is not 50% of the fighters. At 50%, then everybody needs to take a morale test, and anybody who is within 6 of the Jarl can use the morale of the Jarl, provided the Jarl has passed already. So you test the Jarl first and then the others. And play continues until such time that you either one side is wiped out, you completed your victory conditions, or you just feel like you've played long enough and want to pack it up. But that is in a very quick fashion to show how you would play Ravenfeast. Well, that's going to wrap it up for today's episode. Ravenfeast, it's absolutely amazing. Like as I said, Little Wars TV has done such a great job of this game. They've done everything right. I mean, in producing free rules, they didn't just make it look cheap. They make it look like a professional rule book with beautiful little cutouts and things, giving everybody what they need to really feel like they're immersed into something quite great here. And it is really great. It's a great game. It's very simple. It's very streamlined. But then they have rules for more advanced players to keep them interested as well, so that when you feel that you're ready, you can always move to that next step and try different things. And as I alluded to earlier in the video, I had said some things about the fantasy. They actually have rules which you can also download for free, where you can, if you want your Vikings to fight like frost giants and dragons and whatever else, they have the opportunity for them to go full Norse mythology on this game and fight some monsters in it too. So it's a wonderful little addition. And so again, once you've gone beyond that basic and want something more advanced, then there's opportunities for growth in here too. I mean, overall, it's just amazing. And it's like I said, I've always been more of the type to enjoy the fantasy wargaming. But in playing this, as I said, there was parts of me that were starting to think like, where can I get some Viking miniatures for this game? So I'm already thinking about that, and I mean, and I could see myself if I do that, then I would want to do the honor, do the game proper justice by researching and learning more about these particular Vikings. See if I find one that kind of appeals to me, and paint my warband to be in the theme of that, so being historically accurate and all that kind of thing. So that would be something I might look into in the future, but for now I'm very, very happy with my little paper cutouts. So now, if you have any other ideas for games you might like to see on the channel, like this was a recommendation by a viewer, Jay, who had mentioned this before when I did the Dragon Rampant video. They said, hey, have you checked out Little Wars TV and their Ravenfeast game? So thank you, viewer Jay, for letting me know about this, because I had no idea this was out there, and it is a fantastic game and I love it. I think it's great, and it's definitely something that belongs on this channel. So if you know of other games like this, other viewers, please let me know, and that way I can review it on the channel and share it with other viewers as well, to help them to find games which are great for learning about all kinds of different things. So if you're new to the channel, then what I do is I'm putting out videos on a weekly basis. My focus is on games, gamification, game-based learning, which are all around education, where the games have that educational component to them. I'm a teacher, and I teach the way I wish I was taught. I teach with games as much as possible, with gamification as much as possible, to try to keep the students engaged and learning. And I'm sharing everything that I've learned with you, and whatever you know as well, if you could share with me, then I can turn around and share it with everybody again. And it's a whole big mess of sharing. And that's going to be it for today's episode. Until next time, I'm Craig Thompson Wood, your host on Teaching with Board Games, saying thanks for coming to the classroom.
Are you coming back to school with me? We could have done it all.